Do you find yourself scared by things that go bump into VeVe? Well, welcome back everybody to Sodi Pop on YouTube. My name is Matt, and yes, we are officially ready to get started here with the illustrious, the amazing, the one and only Taps Trades. Thank you so much for joining us today, Taps. If you are here, say hello in the chat, and we'll make sure to notice you. Of course, we're going to start out a little bit with who Taps is, what's been going on. So he's been in the VeVe community since the very beginning. Of course, we really appreciate all the amazing info you bring us every day. But I just want to ask you, Taps, how did you get started in VeVe and then going back even further crypto? Because I know you're a trader as well.
Oh man. Hey, thanks so much for having me on, man. Like really it was really cool meeting you at Decon and
Yeah.
then I'm watching your channel and seeing like how you stream and love the look of it, love the value you bring. So I'm happy to be on.
Awesome. Thank
But
you. Appreciate it.
man, so I guess it makes sense to start with I guess how I got into crypto. So I I like I didn't know anything about really what to do with money or finances for most of my life. Like I grew up, single parent, paycheck to paycheck, spend money as soon as you get it. Like never really understood saving or investing. And then much later on in life, I started kind of speaking with people who were way smarter than me and just kind of asking questions. And, one of my buddies who works for PwC was like, hey, I know you're saving money just to save it and not spend it, but what is that doing for you just sitting in the bank?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I kind of was like, well, what else do I do? And he's like, well, you should invest it. Like you're just losing money to inflation by having it in the bank. And like that really resonated with me. So I started kind of researching and at the
How
time,
long
I was
ago
like,
was
all
that?
right, February 2018. So I started
Okay.
investing not that long ago. I guess
Wow.
it feels like a long time ago, but 4 years ago, I started by investing $2,000 in stocks.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the time, I didn't have any property. I didn't really know what I was doing. The goal at that time was like, hey, it'd be wild if I could afford a house one day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I jumped into crypto shortly after that. I'd say probably about another 8, 9 months later. And I invested in XRP, Ripple. I invested
Classic.
in EOS, a little bit of Ethereum, like a couple other things. And I didn't go heavy though, because a lot of people were naysaying it. And I just didn't like, I only like investing in things I can really wrap my head around. So I didn't do enough research at the time. But
Mm-hmm.
then I went much, much heavier about, I guess, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And it's been a wild journey, man. Like with stocks, with crypto, to real estate, it's been a really fast 4 years, and I can't wait to see, I guess, what the next 4 years happens with VeVe and Ecomi.
It, I mean, but that just goes to show you that so much can happen in such a short amount of time. Like if you're new here, when I started in 2016. I started researching it, and then I told a friend, and that friend researched it even more. I went on a trip, went to Thailand with my girlfriend at the time, came back, and that friend he was going to dental school, so he had quit his job. He was just waiting to go, and he's like, "Dude, you got to get into this. This is amazing." I'm like, okay, like, is this like I looked it up? It seems scammy, cold wallet. Like, I have no idea what that means. People are gonna hack Coinbase. Nothing's safe. And then he got me into it. Chris Dunn, who's a trader on YouTube, he's one of the OGs in crypto. That's who I ended up learning from. Like, my friend paid for his pass, and I just kind of, jumped in along. So I never paid for it.
Nice.
But I mean, that was my start too. And I took my lumps, came back, I stayed with it. And I think that ultimately what I've learned is just to stay with things. You have a lot of people that are getting scared right now of VeVe. They're buying things on the wrong side. Things are going up and down, and people aren't getting dropped. I think that's the biggest thing, and that's going to keep on going forward. And people want to quit, and that's the first thing I can say is don't quit. Just
Yep.
keep on learning, keep on sticking with it. So today we had the VeVe drop canceled. We have the migration happening. Are you ready for it? What was your strategy? Did you just leave stuff alone, or are you going to actively transfer it?
I mean, yeah, I was ready for it. I think it took a lot of people by surprise because they did say the 27th and they didn't really
Hmm.
broadcast it that, this is going to be a time that's associated, um, both like for just US audience, like Pacific time, Central time, Eastern Standard, it was actually on the 26th, right? So
Yeah,
I think there was a lot of people who had that mad rush, but I transferred a lot of my Omi over on I think the 25th.
good.
And so my strategy was to just send roughly about 90% of it over to the VeVe wallet
Hmm.
and have that moved over to layer two. And the reason why is because I want to have the highest tier of the Omi staking so I can benefit for, the drops, like you just said, drops are incredibly hard now.
Hmm.
And with those staking abilities, you're going to have some added ability, having that, different staking tiers. But I'm really excited to see, I guess, what other tiers they're going to have, whether it's $25,000 of OMI or $50,000 OMI or however high they go. And so I put more than enough if it is around that, 50,000,
Hmm.
because also we know that OMI to NFT is coming, right? So it makes sense to just have whatever OMI you plan on using in the app for staking abilities for that. But I kept 10% out because my average price range for OMI is right around 0.0035.
Wow,
So if
that's
I
great.
sell at 3.5 cents whenever it gets there, then it's all house money. Like I've
Hmm.
returned my investment. And a lot of people are like, well, why would you do that if you think OMI is going to go way, way up? And I do believe it's going to go way past that eventually. But the whole purpose of doing that is it's just taking risk off the table. And then you
Right.
can keep adding, more and more if you'd like.
That's another thing that I've seen constantly. Hello from Belgium. That's another thing that I've seen constantly is this kind of all-in mentality, and that works sometimes for some people, but it is really important to diversify either if within Omi token, or just taking risk off the table, like having this a firm strategy of getting a 2, 3, 4x. That's not a bad strategy. Again, you'll never go broke taking profits, but with those profits, you can put them into something else as well. Um, Yeah, so Tito420 here. Welcome back. He says, so whales will always have an advantage with staking and their massive complete sets. Um, I mean,
Yes.
yes. Yeah. But
I mean,
go ahead.
sorry, I was just say, I mean, yeah, I mean, the thing is you have X amount like some of those besides the drop raffle, I think it is, you have like you can spend all of your, drop tickets or however it's going to work with that
Mhm.
on a certain drop, but it makes sense to kind of like ration them out, even if you are a Mondo whale who's been sitting on, a collectible of every set, you have thousands of collectibles, 70 plus sets. But the thing is the actual waiting room system, does kind of help on there. But yes, I mean, whales definitely have an advantage on staking because they have the ability to complete sets because they do have the higher staking tiers. But it also is kind of easier to become a whale if you invested much earlier, right? And I'm not a whale. Like I consider whales people who have well over 100 million OMI, and I know a few who have over a billion. So
Hmm.
it's kind of it's hard because they do value the most from it, but there's not like a ton of them to where people like us who have, several million OMI are not, I guess, super disadvantaged. They're just kind of one-off cases.
Right. And the way I view it is exactly that. But this is the collectors app. They said it's collectors. The biggest collectors will be those with the most money, the most whales. So that is fine, but they are still trying to make it equitable in the drop sense. And you can still learn how to play the market. And I've seen a lot of posts on Reddit, F the whales, let's take them down. And if I learn anything from the markets is you can't fight them, so you try and learn how to feed off them. You try and learn how to be the minnow of the shark swimming next to them,
Hmm.
getting their scraps. And so when they put in sell or buy walls, well, cool. They're putting in a big wall way below, and they're having people drop below them. If you have gems, you can go ahead and grab a few things that drop below their wall as well. You don't always have to try and play against them. You just have to learn how that works.
Yep.
All right. Greetings from Montreal, Canada. Cool to see taps on your channel. Thank you so much. Yeah. Again, just thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Um, we also had a great time at DCon. So
Yeah,
can't imagine
that
that.
was fun from what I remember.
Yeah. Yeah. For what you remember. Exactly. I know you and Randy, I'm sure the roomie situation and stuff was crazy. So all right. So we had Fed Chairman Powell recently coming out. We're getting back into some traditional markets. So I want to step away from OMI for a minute, and we're going to talk about traditional markets because I think it can and maybe will affect VeVe, and you can put your own opinions on that. So let me go ahead and bring up just the market for today on my little chat window here. So hopefully everyone can see that. I can make it a little bit bigger. Let me go ahead and make it bigger. So we'll cover up ourselves a little bit. So we have Bitcoin sitting at 36K. Let me refresh it, make sure it's right. Yeah. Bitcoin sitting at 36K. Ethereum down to 2,400. Tether at $1, of course. BNB. But the main thing here is Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin has been bouncing off that like around $30,000 level. We've seen almost a 50% drop since the all-time highs. The Federal Reserve Chairman Powell, he has come out because they're going to raise interest rates. That is I guess, has a negative effect overall on the entire stock market and as we've seen crypto market as well. Uh, Taps, to you, what does this stuff, if anything, have an effect on VeVe and the OMI token? Does it have an effect on both, one or the other?
Yeah. So what happens, I mean, with crypto, so like I wake up every morning, Monday through Friday, usually around like 6,
Mm-hmm.
and I've become much less of an active stock trader. I've definitely sold out of some stocks, not a ton actually to buy OMI. Like I've used kind of paychecks for that, but to buy more VV collectibles, I've actually been moving some stocks around because we've seen what's happened with the pricing, and I'm not really buying the highs right now, but
Mm-hmm.
more stacking up gems, and I made a lot of moves during the golden moments time. And
Nice.
with this though, so the stock market has been very much down, and it keeps kind of trending down because there's a lot of fear in the market with the Fed, with inflation, with tapering, with everything that's been happening. Initially, like we didn't really think we were going to actually see severe interest rate spikes until they were saying probably really 2023, but then it got cut down to like maybe May or June. And now we're hearing rumbles of, okay, maybe it's actually coming soon. Um, so there's just a lot of fear in the market. With everything that happens in the traditional market, the crypto markets usually follow. So
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin tracks down. When Bitcoin tracks down, alts fall heavy. When alts fall heavy, only in the past, like 3 months ago, 6 months ago, would always crash, like with them as well. But we're seeing heavier resistance with OMI versus like an Ethereum or a Cardano. And
Yeah.
so OMI is actually holding a lot more strength than most other altcoins. And what's cool is I think that's because of a lot of the hodl that's been built around it because of staking, because immutable X is finally happening, because we know exchanges are happening. Like people finally get it. And so there's still going to be exchanging of hands, whether people are buying, selling. But there's a lot more hodling than what we've seen traditionally in the past. And because we know exchanges are coming, and because there's already somewhat immediate utility because you can actually sell now NFTs in Immutable X we saw with Omi, which that
Mm-hmm.
blew my mind yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, those little things are having Omi, yes, it'll go down if everything keeps going down, but it'll also tick up during a time when everything else is down. So because Omi is kind of getting a spotlight on it because the rest of the markets are down and Omi's tracking up, it's creating new investors who are going, why is this token going up? Like maybe this is one to track, maybe it's a breakout. And so there's a lot happening during a unique time that's actually going to kind of work out well for Omi, especially if the markets rebound.
Yeah, I think so. And do you, I guess your overall feeling on the markets, do you think we're moving sideways now for a little bit? Are we going to head into a longer bear trend? Do you think we're going to move up? I mean, there's a lot happening in the macro lens. I have my own opinions, but I don't know. So I guess do
Um,
you think we're going to be moving down, up, bear market, sideways for a long time?
I don't think we're in the bear market yet.
Okay.
I think because like what we saw back in was it May when everything really dropped, and then we had 3.5, 4 months of just bearish run. And everyone at that time was like, oh, hey, we're in a bear market. And bear markets, like I refer to that as like a bearish run, right?
Hmm.
Because a bear market is usually like 2 years long. Like it's not a well, for some, it's not a fun time, right? Because you see your investment shoot down. You're like, well, I guess I either pull my money out and take a loss,
Hmm.
or I just let it sit there and cross my fingers into the next bull market. So that's to me a bear market. I don't think we're there yet. I think we're
Yeah.
in another bearish run. I don't think it will necessarily take, another 3 or 4 months, but I think we'll probably see more of it going into February. Um, but it's all going to come down to, I guess, kind of like the next FOMC meeting, the next what's going to happen with the Fed. But it's not looking awesome, but it's also not like doom and gloom yet.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. I am hopeful for 2022 as far as this market is concerned. And I think right now there's uncertainty. Whenever we see like something's coming, no matter what it is, it it makes everyone uncertain. So everyone's like, cool, I'm going to take my chips off the table, wait until that something is officially announced with a number. And I feel like that's what we're seeing right now. And once that is, things will hopefully, hopefully recover. Again, I give that, like a 60%. I really have no clue. No one does. If they say they
Mhm.
do, they don't have a clue. So going off that with VeVe, do you think if we do have a more prolonged let me rephrase that question in my head. So with VeVe, if we do have a bear market and Bitcoin drops majorly and maybe OMI drops majorly as well, once Immutable X, once MTL is all integrated, the prophecies have aligned, will VeVe suffer because of that? Do you think the NFTs, because I know you've talked about collectibles on your channel, how in bear markets and bigger times they actually hold their value better. Do you think VeVe will fare the same fate?
Yeah, so I did do a video on this, kind of like, is
Mm,
VV recession proof? And it's like both yes and no. And like no one
yeah.
knows for sure until it happens, right? Because if we go into a bear market, like obviously there's a whole bunch of utility exchanges, and like I mean not like next month, but like let's say in the next few months, OMI will get hit. It won't drop, like 95%, like some like the shit coins and all those other alts and like that will happen, but
Hmm.
it will be hit. Like it's an altcoin in the day, and even though it has a lot happening for it, it will take a chunk out, just like everything that happens with a bear market. And that's I'm not saying that's happening, but on the flip side, when you look at VV collectibles, what happens in a recession or just a down, financial crisis? Collectibles usually tend to hold really strong value. People
Hmm.
actually move a lot of their money into art, into wine, into things that they just kind of store away, and it just sits there. And so it's actually probably one of the strongest ways of hodling. And collectibles are no different. We've actually seen that a lot of the price can sometimes spike even at unique times during that time. And what sets kind of VeVe aside from other NFTs is other NFTs, the prices usually for them are a lot higher, right?
Hmm.
So Funko Pop has shown that they actually were recession proof, at least in the past, in the recession of, I think it was 2008. Were they around then?
Yeah.
It was around, maybe they started 2009, but it was right around where they showed like they were resistant then. They were resistant when the stock market took a massive dip in 2018,
That's
again in
crazy.
2020. And the reason why is because of the low price.
Hmm.
So, yeah, the values in VV are insane, but every drop is still a low price, right? It's $7 for a comic. It's, what, $20 or whatever for a Marvel Mighty. It's $40 for these posters coming from Disney. Like that's all affordable, even in a down market for most. So that continues to have growth during a time when everyone else is seeing recession. So I think the collectibles are going to actually hold a lot more value, even if we're in a financial crisis where they won't spike down as much as like OMI would.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a really good point. For me, I'm uncertain because, I mean, again, neither you or I know, but the once it's open to immutable, once MTL, unlike real world collectibles, it's so much easier to buy and sell these, and that can be a
Hmm.
double-edged sword. But again, I'm more in agreement with what you've seen, what you've heard is that I think collectibles will hold a little bit more. If anything, people just add to their collectibles. I know I probably would if I had the extra cash. Definitely add to the collectibles some Disney golden moments, of course,
Yep.
absolutely. All right, so let's go back to VeVe. So we have this a new Disney drop mention, and I'm curious to see your opinion on it because I think for me it's cool, but I'm honestly a little bit lukewarm on this. So let's go ahead and show this. So of course we have the Mickey and Friends. Let's scroll down all the way to the bottom for this special one, right? So of course we have Mickey, and again, these are all first editions. They have said that all art is going to be first edition, not first appearance. So I'd love to hear your opinion on that. So we have Mickey, Minnie. Wish that was first appearance, of course.
Hmm.
Donald, and then well, Daisy Duck, yeah, and then Pluto, and lastly Goofy. So Goofy is just outrageous. Look at
That's the
this.
old school version though, all right? Like, or maybe it's not.
I don't know if it is old school version. I'm not sure.
He
Um,
just looks so weird.
it just looks so odd. He's way out of place, and maybe this is like the original version of Goofy. But he looks so out compared to these spick and span, you know, other Mickey and friends. He just looks so crazy, I guess.
I think a lot of these, like, there's all the new kind of like the cartoon show with Mickey and Minnie. And they've definitely been drawn differently. But I'm curious why you're lukewarm on these because I would kind of felt similar when I first saw them, and then when I
Mhm.
read into them, I got excited. So I'm curious why you're lukewarm on them.
So I think for me, it just stems from what the golden moments were, and I'm gonna try and get these. Gonna try and get all of them. I'm gonna say that from the beginning. When we just coming off of the Killer Croc statue and then what the golden moments are and were is that the impressiveness, I guess, of the actual NFT was really cool. So I was hoping to see the next one from Disney to be maybe something else. But again, with that being said, I mean, you would be silly to sleep on these, of course. But yeah, so they're lenticular interactive cards. So this is I don't think this is a new collectible. I've speculated that I think the next thing we will see from VeVe is cards. I don't know if it's these cards or playing cards or cards in general.
Hmm.
But it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to be cards, sports cards, Pokemon cards, of course. Makes a lot of sense, especially if they're combining AR. You know, they're talking to Apple every 2 weeks. So that.
Well, and you think about how easy it is to implement some kind of card game like
Mm-hmm.
into it. And I know that
Yes.
Trevor wasn't exactly crazy about that, but you look at like what Gods Unchained did, and
Mm-hmm.
you look at the fact that, many have always said about, when Pokemon, all that. And when you actually look, and I've done a few videos, and I've always said, as much as I want to see Pokemon collectibles in our showroom, I really truly believe that it makes more sense for us to receive Pokemon cards
Yes.
in VeVe first because David Yu still has the Pokemon license with Vagabond for Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And when you look at who the some of the largest players in the NFT space are, they're all Pokemon card fans, right?
Yep.
If VeVe got Pokemon cards, it would be insane. So I would love to see that. But actually, could you re-pull that up? Because I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
tell you why I'm bullish as all heck on these.
Yes. Please.
Scroll back up to that paragraph,
Okay.
please. So I was also lukewarm on these. I was like, okay, like we've got posters again. Like I'll grab what I can grab, but I'm not going to spend a ton. And then what I read is there's three things here that jump out to me that I think is really unique, and that's why I'm going to be trying to collect as many of these as possible.
Okay.
And it says each room is personalized to match every character, and lenticular technology allows you to get a closer look at the character on the card by viewing it from a new angle. So, why does it
Each
refer to
room.
these
Yeah.
posters as each room? That's what I'm really, really trying to understand. Like, that's they write all of these Medium articles meticulously. So
Hmm.
I'm really that doesn't translate right to me, and I don't think it's an error. So I'm really trying to understand each room. Like
Hmm.
I don't like. Do you walk through these? Probably not. Like maybe I'm trying to be a little bit moon boyish here, but I'm trying to really understand why that is written that way. And then the other two pieces is discover custom music for each character within the space. So again, room, custom music for each character within the space. So like that makes it sound like this thing, like this poster, you almost like walk through it and there's like a space or a room or music or something like that. And then when you flip the card over, there's a special autograph. So whose autograph is it? Is it Disney's? Like, is this our
Yeah.
first time seeing Walt Disney's autograph? So all those three things combined, that's what made me go, oh, I need to get every single one of these.
Here, oh my God. So I'm just like, you can't see my face because I was blocked. But right now, do you remember there was the Matrix like demo, the AR demo
Hmm.
that you could walk through that little passageway? And
Yep.
if you didn't walk through it in AR, you were just in your normal room. But when you looped around and walked through the passageway, it made everything that Matrixy, ones and zeros and stuff. I mean, what if this was that, but just Disney and probably a little bit better because it's more time has passed. So,
I mean, it would make sense. I mean, like you put a right now, what do you do with your posters? Right? You put them on the walls of your showrooms or you use them to make furniture until we actually get our accessories and furniture. So
yeah,
if you put these on the wall and if it's just like a little closet or cubby or something like that that you walk into and then, it's maybe designed to match Mickey and then there's music playing, like that would be really cool. And I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying when you read this, it says each room and then it also says within the space. So like
yeah,
those two things make it sound like they can do something unique.
that's
And I'm
true.
not sure if you need all of them, if you need just, one each does something, or if this is just really, really oddly written. But because of that, mixed with the fact that it has music, mixed with the fact that it has special autograph that they don't say whose it is, that's why I'm very bullish on this drop and why I'm stoked. And I don't think a lot of people have caught on to that yet. When I read that, because I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'll go for the drop, of course, but I'm not gonna grab them all. And then when I read that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna grab them all.
Oh man. Okay, you just got me pumped. I didn't even think of the Matrix thing before because that and if it is that, then that means first edition, first appearance, whatever, it's a first ever thing. Whenever there's a first ever thing on VeVe, that's a big deal. You look at the Todd Batman, you look at the first comic, although it is Marvel Comics #1 as well, that helps. But whenever it's a first ever of the thing. All right, I'll pull up. There's a couple of questions in the chat, so I'll go ahead and pull those up. Let me uh, jot this down first. So, I'm sorry, a little bit hard to read. I should have put a background on that. I'll read it for you though. Price predictions from JQ. Price predictions for Marvel Mighties and the Mini Mouse Drop. What do you think?
Well, this is by far the coolest Marvel Mighties drop that we've ever seen. Like,
By far, by
and don't get me
far.
wrong, like I
Yeah.
love Doctor Doom. I think Red Skull's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, all of the Captain Americas, like Carter's cool, but you got FA Green Goblin, you got FA Black Cat, you got FA Spider-Man 2099, you got
Mm-hmm.
FA Spider-Woman. What's the other one? FA
Spider.
Spider-Gwen.
Yeah, Spider, but they call her Spider Ghost, which I get. She changed her name later, but yeah,
Yeah.
Spider Gwen is there. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely dope drop. Like, I didn't expect that. That was like pretty short notice. I know that today's got canceled
yeah,
because of the mutable stuff. So I hope tomorrow's does not because I'm really excited for that one. But that surprised me. I was like, whoa, we have a Friday drop now? And then when you looked
yeah.
at them, you're like, oh, it's Mighties again. Like, okay, cool. But these ones are sick. So really excited for these price prediction. I mean, you really have to compare
I don't think
which
there's
one's
a
the secret
Medium
rare?
article yet. Yeah, I don't
Is
see the
the
Medium article.
they showed on the video, I think was the secret. I think Black Cat was the ultra rare, and
Yeah,
was Spider-Man 2099 the secret rare?
I think so. Let me pull up the video really quick.
Okay, because I think yeah, like when you look at price predictions with Marvel Mighties, you have to compare them to your current really cool ones, right? Because there's a lot of FAs here, and Spider-Man specifically is a pretty big character because of Into the Spideyverse, right? Like a
Hmm.
lot of people love Spidey-Gwen now.
Sorry, I probably blew a couple people's ears out. Here, let me pull that up for you. I hate the way Twitter does video is always weird. Okay, well, you can kind of see it there. So we have, let's go back, see if it says the rarities here. I think it says
Yeah, this is in the corner.
is yeah, okay. So the Spider Woman is uncommon, and then Black Cat is rare. Then we have ultra rare is green. Oh, that looks so good on his glider. God, that looks so good.
So is normal Spider-Man the common then?
I
Yo,
think
Spider-Man 2099 is the
29
secret rare.
secret rare. Okay. So Spider Gwen must be a common as well. I think there's two commons. Let's go back. Yeah, so no more Spider Man is a common, and then Spider Gwen or Spider Ghost, I guess, is a common as well. Which I'm so happy she's a common because I think she's my that and Green Goblin are probably my tops for this selection.
Yep. And because of that, we've seen more and more commons where like if the character's big enough, they actually do better than some others.
Yes.
My prediction is scoop up Spider Gwens or Ghosts, like because she's such a awesome character. Like they
Mm-hmm.
revealed her in Into the Spideyverse with Miles Morales. Like she's gonna be a bigger character, and like I've been going to anime conventions and Comic Cons for a long time, and you see so many Spider Gwens because there's so much fandom around her because she's awesome.
Yeah.
And so this is one where I know that the Spider Woman I think is the uncommon, much less known. I would scoop up a bunch of Spider Gwens, personally, not financial advice, just because I think she'll do really well on this drop and in the secondary.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, price prediction for like the Secret Rare Ultra. Look at the other, like look at Doctor Doom, how well he did, and look at Red Skull and kind of cost compare to see how like those earlier ones did compare to these because there's so many FAs in this one. I think the only one that's not is Spider-Man, right? Like
I
so
think so,
Green
yeah.
Goblin is one of the top bad guys. He'll do really well, and he's an ultra rare.
Yeah.
And Black Cat is awesome. So I think the weak one of this is the Spider Woman, the uncommon. But
Mm-hmm.
you have so many FAs packed into this one that they're all going to do really, really well. Um,
I'm very curious because they do all these jobs for a reason. You know, they're talking with Marvel and they're talking with Disney and they're not just willy-nilly, oh, this character's cool. Like they're very specific as to why they're dropping it. So there's a storyline within the Spider-Verse, and Tom Holland signed up for 3 more movies. There's a storyline within the Spider-Verse that there's kind of this big war that happens and it combines a lot of the Spider-Man from all over. And essentially they're like more or less hunted. And it's a really cool storyline. I didn't even find out about it till recently when I was like looking into comics and stuff. And it's cool. It combines all the different Spider-Man. And these particular Spider-Man are heavily involved. Spider-Woman, Spider-Gwen. So think what you will, but that could be kind of what the story might be around coming up with if you've seen Far From Home or Away From
I was going
Home.
to say, did you see the new one?
I did, yeah. I don't want to do any spoilers for anyone, but it was,
Just, I won't give a spoiler, but I want to know if you saw this or not. So you know how like the multiverse kind of starts opening in the sky, and you see all those shadowy figures before Doctor Strange is like trying to close it.
yes.
If you look, one of those shadowy figures is this guy holding a spear. That's actually what's his name? Craven.
Craven? Yeah, yeah.
Craven the Hunter. So like that's why I think we saw the Craven comics come, and now we're seeing
Yes.
these, and I think they're going to be building up. Like, but they're doing everything so soon, and because of that, like that's why I was telling everyone, like, don't sleep on Loki Gators, don't sleep on Throg, don't sleep on these things that, like, they've released them for a purpose, and they're
Mm-hmm.
doing it very early because they want to get awareness for them out super early. And so when there actually is awareness, I said the same thing about Storm. Everyone's like, well, I don't like the way that she looks, blah, blah. I was like, the Queen of Wakanda is the original Storm, and she's going to be in Black Panther 2. And I said that during the drop, and then it took like another month before people picked up on it, and then it shot up in value.
Yep.
So they're doing this for a purpose, right? So you can really kind of follow the signs and buy accordingly, and they're not going to shoot up overnight, but when they do, you're sitting pretty.
And I think that, and I get this way too. I don't have unlimited funds. And so I'm trying to decide, all right, I want three or four of these, but they're a few hundred gems. Or now Dr. Doom, I grabbed one of him, fortunately, and now he's up to like, he got up to like 1,400 gems, and he's looks awesome. He's sitting pretty, but you want all of these things. So let's say, of course, I think Spider Gwen, Spider Ghost is what you would probably pick up from this if you had to pick one, or would it be Green Goblin? What do you think?
For
If you had to
this
choose
one,
one.
I really want the set. I mean,
If you
I'm
had to choose one,
gonna.
if you only had a few hundred gems.
So if I missed the drop and I could buy something, I
Yeah.
would use. I would definitely grab, probably about three Spider Gwens or
Yeah.
Spider Ghosts because I think people are going to be really sleeping on this one. But if you're finding that if you're not able to get enough gems, or if you're like, man, like it's just so expensive now, then bide your time, right? Or like
Yeah.
grab what you can, but grab it smart and then flip your way up. Like my buddy started in this, 2 months ago, and things were up then, and he's already, I think, quadrupled his vault, and he's at several thousands of gems now, where he didn't really start that high. And so you can do it. It just, you need to bide your time and look for deals, especially because we're in a mini-ish gem squeeze right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's going to be a lot more big. I don't know why. I always trust my gut. I know there's some big brand coming in February. I just know it. And so I think we're going
Pokemon
to see
Day is on the
another.
22nd.
I know. I'm afraid to say it. I don't want to get everyone hyped up on it, but
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be something besides that coming in February, and I think that's going to create a big gem squeeze. And so you need to be prepared. Have gems already in the app. I have
Yes.
several thousand in the app ready to go whenever that happens, so that way I can scoop things. And you look where other people are not looking, right? So everyone's preparing for that, right? You can be prepared for it, but you're going to see a lot of things like golden moments, like Batman's, like, probably the price on common Spider-Man's, like certain things that you wanted that have rallied up too high. So when everyone is looking this way, you scoop up things this way. Like I didn't have the entire set of all the B&W Blackman
Mm-hmm.
or Batman until um, Disney, until the week of Golden Moments, and then I started scooping up Nightwing, Carmine Infantino, and I got them all under $1,000. And then we
Nice.
saw what happened to the price, and
Nice.
I sold them. I sold a bunch of them at the high. I kept all the ultra rares though.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of how you do it: is you look where everyone's not looking.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important. Something that you almost touched on is to have a plan, because I know I'm guilty of this. Is I get the collection and maybe I had a plan where, and I think Dr. Doom, I'm doing this with him right now. Is I'm like, cool, I'm gonna flip him. Oh, I really like him. Oh, I only need a
Yes.
couple more to get the set. Huh. And it just goes from there. And then all of a sudden your plan's out the window and your gems are locked up. So have a plan, stick to it, whatever that is. All right, let's go. There's another question here. Tito 420. Do you think these cards will be worth as much as the Steamboat?
Yeah, probably not as much as Steamboat, only
Mm-hmm.
because Steamboat I mean, it's an animated collectible. Like it doesn't have the FA or the FE tag yet. We'll see if they ever change that. Not sure, but Steamboat Willie is the heart and soul of Disney. And when you look, it's a great collectible.
Mm-hmm.
They're losing the copyright license in 2 years, so it's potentially the only NFT of Steamboat Willie that we'll see. It is the most recognized like figure of that version of Mickey besides Mickey himself, the colored version, right? And so like I was at the bowling alley last night, like I'm trying TikTok, like I just have fun with my collectibles, and I was filming him dancing, and guy who's probably like 55 years old was like, "What are you doing with Steamboat Willie?" And I was like, right away, like he knows exactly who it is,
Yeah.
and yeah, like that is, you see it before every Disney movie, right? So like I
Mm-hmm.
am so bullish on Steamboat Willie. Like when I saw it come out, I was like, I need it. I need all of them. I need all three of them. So I don't think there'll be as much, but the Goofy is a secret rare.
True.
If they have that functionality of like the spaces, rooms, music, if it has Walt Disney's autograph. I don't know whose autograph's going to be on it. Like it could be close, but probably not right away. Like it'll probably jump up in price. Like I could see it, jumping up to a thousand initially, then 2,000 and 3,000. Like if it has those added features, but I
Yeah.
don't think it'll be quite Steamboat Willie 10K price unless these rooms actually are a thing, and then we'll see a whole bunch of FOMO.
Yeah, and that's the bet, right? Is you are assuming or hoping that it will be a thing. It they don't make too many mistakes as far as wording, so I can imagine it will be a thing. And I think that's going to be maybe a strength for our good friend Goofy here because he is so out of place with the rest of them that just the difference, just him being a little bit different, makes that special as well. So whenever you find something that's unique that kind of sticks out, it's like, oh, and plus he's a secret rare, so that also helps. He's a little bit more rare than everyone else. I do, of course, hope I get a mini for sure on that drop. All right, I didn't see that you answered that question in the chat, but that's okay. All right, let's go on to Adag. Not sure how to pronounce that name, but Taps. You said earlier that people invest in art as it's a good protection not to lose money slash value. Do you think that the artworks on VeVe are undervalued? For example, decons and the DC bombshells.
Well, I mean, art itself like is subjective, right? So when we're talking like art, you think mostly paintings, right? Versus statues versus, collectibles, like all of it's art. But
Mhm.
I think the way that you value a lot of decon stuff is you really have to pay attention to the artist or you have to pay attention to the edition size, right? So when you look at the artist, you have to consider, will we see more of their art come to VeVe, or will we see more of their art come to OpenSea or other marketplaces, right? So you look at Simone Legno. Is it Legno? I can never say it right.
Yeah, not
Um,
sure.
but Simone with Tokidoki, like you look at the fact that we've had several drops now from Unicornos, Unicornos, Dragon Girls, and then we also see that in Binance NFT Marketplace, and those sold out with their Tokidoki drop, and so you have a higher propensity to have more value long term with an artist who's continuously dropping content on VeVe in other marketplaces, and also because it's an artist, they can always create another airdrop, kind of like what Ron English did, right? So that's kind of what I think about with them is if we do enter into, a financial crisis, something like that, the artwork in VeVe will do well as long as attached to a brand that will continue to do well and come out, in VeVe and other open marketplaces. The decon stuff is subjective unless you really pay attention to the artist and the edition size. Because I think like the extra large, like I see your picture is the 8 from extra large, and I know there's a group behind that. I'm in that group, but I think that brand is a really big brand, and they've seen like what's happened with those. So I think the propensity that we actually could see more from them is pretty high, and that they'll actually step into the larger spaces as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Uh, And I think you kind of touched upon like the airdrop from Ron English, and it seems like these artists are more interested in engaging with the community, on a very like even level and doing airdrops or saying, hey, let's get this done. Or Ron English for he has a light called Crypto Club that he did a release for, and it's now an open sea. If you have one of those, you could when you went to Miami, you could have gotten into a party. There's going to be exclusive events in the future in the VeVeverse. It's the badge is going to light up, he says, and there's going to be secret rooms that open up. So I feel like the individual artists are very interested in making their own utility and making it cool and unique. And they're probably going to make it happen a little bit quicker than maybe other brands. But that kind of leads me into another question I had for you is the AMA, they talked about utility and utility and utility and making more utility again and again quite often. What what do you think that means, especially for the Disney, Marvel, some of these bigger brands, Tokidoki even, I have no clue what that means. Um, Opinions?
So when you say utility with the collectibles,
Yes.
yeah. So, oh man, when it's so fun to speculate, especially now,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, like I started my channel back in March, right? Like there was only a few of us back then, and then it picked up, and then everything was exciting and new, and no one really like we were just kind of figuring it out all together.
Yeah.
And then April, May happened, and then those were like what I call like the dark days when the whole market was down, NFTs were down. Everyone was like, "VeVe aren't real NFTs. You can't cash out. Like, no one's gonna make money with these things. It's a rug pull. Like all the FUD." And that's how like people started referring to me as the FUD Buster. Um, but at that time, there was like talk about, "Oh, you'll be able to do this with your NFTs, and you'll be able to do this," and people kind of took it with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
Now that we saw a ton of that speculation happen, like we were right about a ton of different licenses like Marvel and Disney and more and more that we've seen, and we know we're going to see more this year. It and things happen, it's coming more real, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they're saying like you'll be able to be your collectibles as an avatar in the VeVeverse, I believe it, right? You'll
Yeah.
be able to have interoperability eventually to where potentially some of these NFTs could be in other metaverses, right? You could actually have maybe what's a good one? I think about like
The sandbox, maybe, or
I was thinking of the Decentraland, but basically
no.
where you could wear something, or you could be an avatar from VeVe that's like from the artist, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe you could be an OG Devil Bunny, right? Tristan Eaton, and you're able to walk around as that as your Decentraland avatar. Like little things like that. The utility is so early because we're on a centralized platform and we're just now branching out into a decentralized way. And yes, VeVe will always be centralized, but you have the option on some, hopefully eventually most, to take those into a decentralized format, which broadens it out to interoperability,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which you can choose to do or you don't have to do, right? Like because we know the Vverse is going to be in VeVe, so it will be a centralized metaverse, but there's both good and bad things to that too, right? You look at centralized metaverses like Roblox. Like Roblox is absolutely crushed since 2009. Like
Yes.
it's massive. You look at like Minecraft is more of a game, so is Roblox, but like those are somewhat like metaverses, and so you have that side, but you also have the option of decentralized, just like Sandbox and Mana,
Mm-hmm.
and so it really just the utility that they can do is insane because people are already choosing to do utility with their collectibles, right? They're creating groups, they're creating like little things, they're reaching out to artists on their own. And we're doing it because we're impatient because there's so much utility that could be used with our collectibles that when VeVe chooses to do it, there's like 20 different branches on the tree that they could go to. So I can talk about that all day, but it's very exciting because we are still extremely early just on the collectibles alone, not even just on the Omi utility side.
No, I mean, and think of it this way: is you talked about VVverse, and then you have everything in real life, meetups, or my dream is that Walt or the Golden Moments would be like, cool, that's you're going to be your year pass to Disney now. Just scan that at the park, and you're ready to go. Like that would be amazing. And why would you're asking yourself maybe why would they do that? It's because they will continually get the profits from the sale of all of these. And so they want to bring more value to them because they don't really, there's not much they have to do on their end to add utility because the thing's already been made. It's already out there in the wild. So if they say, cool, you just have to scan something at a park or we'll send you an email and scan it, like it's, and then that sells, like you resell it for 20 or 30 grand later and they get 6% of it or 8.5% of it. Like there's just, there's an actual reason for the artists, for Marvel, for Disney to actually support it. That's why I think we're gonna see maybe more of the Japanese brands not move to Immutable, just because Nintendo and people that I've known for Japanese brands, specifically Nintendo, they tend to be much more closed off and much more protective. Plus, we saw Ultraman wasn't available. It was available for the U.S., but wasn't available for Japan and I think the Asian continent. So
Yeah,
we
I agree with you there
yeah. So
because sorry, go ahead.
oh, I'm just saying we may see a price drop, which might be a big opportunity, but I can I can see them eventually opening up after seeing everyone else make tons of profit as well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on like the anime vertical side because they've said in multiple AMAs that uh, a lot of these anime in Japanese and just APAC region licensors
Hmm.
are notoriously hard to work with. Like they're very, and not that they're like, hard like in a negative way. They're just they're very picky, very selective. Like
Yeah.
you need to be very careful with how you use their brand and licensing. So they're notoriously like more gated.
Hmm.
And if anything, like you look at like China, I mean, everything is extremely centralized, like
Yeah.
to the government. So like you have to really consider how that actually gives VeVe also too a big leg up, the fact that it's a centralized NFT platform when you actually look at somewhere like APAC. Like you have more access to some brands potentially because it's actually a centralized app versus many other NFT projects because they want to keep their hands on everything,
Hmm.
which is their way. But with the anime side, I also wonder that too. Like I think we'll probably see. I think because of a tweet that Reese did a long, long time ago, I think people underestimate Marvel and DC um, being more open to, you know, to actually like being on like a decentralized marketplace.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do agree with you that I think the anime vertical side, I think it's going to be a much, much harder sell to get them outside, whether it's Ultraman or it's, hopefully Dragon Ball Z or whatever else is coming. Hopefully Viz Media, that'd be amazing.
Hmm.
Um, but I think they'll be probably one of the slowest to actually let something out of Eevee.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think if hopefully Nintendo comes, like even you look at Nintendo, it was a big shock. It was at 2016, 2015 when they did Mario versus Rabbids and they
Hmm.
combined with
That was a fun
Ubisoft.
game.
Oh, really good game. And they have the second
Yeah.
game out now too. But that was like a shock to everyone because everyone was like, whoa, they let someone else touch their IP? That's insane because Nintendo doesn't do that. And they still haven't done it very much. Uh, but that also lends me hope that they would come to VeVe as well because their Amiibo, I have a Cloud Strife sitting here. Their Amiibo are just fantastic and make so much sense
You like my
within
sword?
VeVe. Yeah, I love your Buster Sword. I have, it's hard to see, but there's the Final Fantasy VII Deluxe Collector's Edition. Actually, what got me in, so I used to collect Beanie Babies when I was little, and I sold three Beanie Babies to buy my first PlayStation 1 and then Final Fantasy VII, which is what got me into gaming in general. So,
You collected
uh,
the right Beanie Babies.
I did, yeah. Beanie Babies were crazy expensive back then. So
Hmm.
that was my introduction. I collected bottle caps and rocks and little things when I was little, but that was my introduction into collection. Was I had hundreds of Beanie Babies. I had the Princess Di Bear. I got it in San Francisco because that was the only place we found it. So it was crazy. And I'm from Wisconsin. I didn't live in California at the time. So
Oh, we have a lot in common. I'm originally from Michigan, so Midwestern.
yeah,
And then I collected things like as I was a kid too. It's hard to see on my shelf back here, but I have GI Joes on there. Like I collected Z-Bots, I collected
yeah,
Mighty Maxes. I also collected rocks, Pez dispensers,
yep,
cards of all kind, comics. Like I've been a collector since I was little, and we used to go to like my mom would have like a garage sale, or we would go to like a flea market, and she would tell me like, okay, like if you pay for the table, which at the time was like $10, which when you're a kid, you're like, where do I get $10? Yeah.
exactly.
And they're like, if you pay for the table, then anything that you sell of your toys that you have, you get to keep. And like that's where
Oh,
I like kind of learned how to flip, when I was a kid.
hustling. Damn.
Yeah.
That's a good lesson. That's a good lesson as a kid, in the markets I'm like, oh, I wish I had that lemonade stand or something. There's all these people that have like really good experiences as a kid that they definitely use it in the VV marketplace for sure. So
Yep.
that's cool. That's a really like cool, unique, fun history that you're using nowadays.
Yep. That's actually my first like my little business. I would say my first like little business was when I was I want to say I was in like second
Hmm.
grade. You remember when you were a kid and you have your desk and you had like all the little shot skis or things that you put at the front of your desk. Like you put like little, not
Yes.
necessarily toys, but like little things on your desk.
Like the little things that
Like
are made out of erasers and stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so like my mom had like an addiction to Tic Tacs for whatever reason. So she always had a ton of Tic Tacs, and she always gave me them. And so like one day I was like, I'm gonna make my own like little desk ornament, whatever you want to call it. And so like I
Hmm.
peeled off the Tic Tac wrapper, and what I did is like put like some like little cheap erasers, like the soccer balls and all that you get from school,
Yep.
and I'd put them in there. I put like glitter and like stars and all that, like all school stuff, and I'd use the Elmer's glue, like the colored glue or whatever, and like I'd basically make like it in that little plastic container, and I put it on my desk because I thought it looked cool.
Hmm.
People were like, "How do I get one of those?" Like, "Oh, I made it." They're like, "Can you make me one?" I was like, "Sure, give me $1." And
Yeah.
then like it was all free materials, and like I ended up doing that, and like I was like, "Cool, I have enough for a Lego set." Like that was my first little hustle business at school.
That's awesome. I had a friend who used to sell, he's the only one who had a CD burner. So he would make hip hop
Nice.
and rap CDs from LimeWire and Kazaa and sell it for like 5 to 10 bucks to people. He'd just be on the playground hustling. It was
LimeWire, FrostWire, all
uh
those.
so good. Um and that's where I think for me, I think like the Coca-Cola Bears specifically, like that is I had a friend who's an obsessive Coke collector. And for me, that's where one of the ones that I like am constantly watching that I'm like, that one could just blow up at any minute. But that could happen with so many collectibles, to be honest.
Yeah.
We have a couple more questions here. Taps, I want to be respectful of your time. We're a few minutes away from 11, so let me know when you need to head out. But JQ, so they say, I do get a feeling that all the Marvel Mighties will have gamification, especially now that Epico Regal confirmed they are working with VeVe. Imagine if it's play to earn game and we can rent out our Mighties. What's your opinion on that? And I know there's another gaming company that had been working with VeVe. I don't know if that was the
Ixion.
one. Yeah, yes, thank you.
Um, yeah, so the Mighties are unique, right? Like they kind of already look like they're meant to go in a game.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very possible. Uh, and like we know that in the past there was, some kind of partnership with Pixion or Big Red and Button Games, like, and we haven't really seen anything from that. And I think it's because there's been so much like hands on deck to make VV collectibles legit, get all the brands out, balance it all with Omi. They're working on the VVverse in tandem. Like they literally always have, 20 plates spinning in the air.
Yeah.
So I think we could see some kind of mini game in the VVverse, or even just in the app, maybe. I don't know, like, or maybe its own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I definitely think there's a reason that the Marvel Mighties are specifically created for VV alone with Marvel, right? Like there has to be something specific for this. They even remind me a little bit of Blanco's Block Party, like how they look. Um, so I think there is something
Yeah.
to that. And Epico Regal coming out and saying they're doing something with VV is kind of like our first look at, an outside company gaming world, even though Venkatesh, was the early investor with VV, or early advisor, sorry. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is kind of like the first opening that we're seeing to some kind of gamification or just some kind of, gaming utility with VV collectibles, or them creating a VV collectible that could be used in their game. So I definitely think there is something to Marvel Mighties. It's just I don't know when we'll see it. We might see a whole bunch of Mighties before we actually see it.
Also, it matters if the game's going to be good too,
Hmm.
because it like a game's really exciting, and I this happens in crypto all the time where the the thinking about the thing, the mystique around it, makes it pump way bigger than the actual thing launching and being real, and
Yep.
so the who knows if any of these games. I'm not a big fan of mobile games at all. I'm a pretty big gamer. I'll be playing Pokemon when it comes out tomorrow. So super excited about that. But there's so many mobile games that are just not super fun. So hopefully,
Yeah.
we don't know.
There's a lot of rinse repeat on mobile. It's kind of like same game, different layout.
And I don't love, to be honest, I don't love the idea of the, I know that's, I don't know how, I'm trying to phrase this. How is Omi and renting and all that stuff? I don't love the pay to play games or pay to win games, I should say. So how do you make it interesting for gamers? How do you make a good game that also uses this stuff? And I think you can. I think you can make costumes. I think you can make it a lot of different things. But unfortunately, I think the way to do it in a more obvious way is to put these in a, okay, you have to pay 10 gems for another 5 lives, and you have to pay 10 gems to rent this out, to rent that out, or to buy this. So I hope they don't do that path first or often.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, we'll see, I guess, kind of how it goes, but we know the desktop is versions coming really soon. I think a
Yep.
lot of people are going to migrate that way, especially me.
Hmm.
So I think we won't see anything gaming wise well until that's all worked out. You know, they're gonna have probably hiccups in the beginning too with it. So I
Yeah.
think all that will be nailed out because like that's where the Vverse is going to live and breathe. It's not going to be mobile. It's going to be on desktop.
Yes.
I mean, you might have mobile functionality eventually, but it's just so much easier to do everything that kind of way on your desktop. So, or like, you know, even if it's like a laptop or whatever, like just not in your hand, like a bigger screen, right? So we'll see from there. But yeah, let's, if you don't mind, if we take Jeff's question as well, just because running a little bit low on time.
Yeah, yeah. So Jeff will kind of make this last question. So he says, for Omi, beyond more exchanges, do you think having more trading pairs will have a significant impact? Also, do the current exchanges worry about wallets flooding away to larger exchanges?
For Omi, beyond just more exchanges, do you think having more trading pairs will have a significant impact? Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because USD, like not everyone's comfortable using Tether. It's just well known. Like some people prefer to use USDC. You know, people just want to use Ethereum. But as you've seen, like almost every trading pair right now with Omi is tied to Tether, right? So you have to get Tether in Coinbase or Crypto.com or whatever, and then send that over to Bit4x, Gate.io, OKX, and then purchase your Omi that way. Now, it's really easy for me to use something that I always hold, which is Ethereum or any like plenty of other crypto. So I think having more trading pairs, not just with our current exchanges, but also going into the new exchanges that we're going to see, is going to help the price substantially. But more than anything, it's going to be exchanges, like having some kind of app-based, you know, ability to buy Omi with KuCoin or Crypto.com or Coinbase or Binance or you know, some people use Kraken. Like there's a whole lot more options. I think that's going to be the more bullish than just the trading pairs.
Hmm.
Also, do the current exchanges worry about wallets flooding away to larger exchanges? I'm sure they do, but I mean, I had never used Bit4x before Omi, right?
Never
Like
heard of
they
it.
made a killing because they chose Omi to be listed on them. And before, like back in March, the only way you could get it was on Bit4x or was it Bitmax? No, was it Bit4x and Bitmax were the original two,
I think
which then became
so.
Ascendex.
Yeah.
I think that was yeah, and then eventually OKX got added, and then Gate.io and Womi and all that. So,
Hmm.
I mean, they already made out like kings having that transaction volume and having it for so long. So I'm sure they're not happy to see Omi go, but I think that's also why we've been seeing these the NFT contests between us and Binamon and all these because they want to keep some of the users on Bit4x, right? And some people will stay on Bit4x because they don't want to move their Omi to another exchange or they don't want to use or they don't want to move to a wallet. Like some people are just, you know, they don't care. They just want to have it where they got it and let it sit there, especially now that it's been converted. So they're probably a little bit worried about it, but not to the point that they're, you know, they've already made their money.
Yeah. I mean, they're a tier three, tier four exchange for a reason. So
Yep.
they're happy to make their money, and this is the business. This is what happens with every token. So I don't think there's much they can or will do about it. But
Yeah.
what if you were a betting man for exchanges coming out? What is one of the biggest exchanges you think will happen next?
I think when you look at the trading pairs that are available with Go token, when you look at the trading pairs that are available on another digital collectible platform like Terra Virtual Collect, you can see what exchanges they have. A lot of the same that are current are like Gate.io, Bit4x, but some of the ones that you see that are also compatible, because we've known about these exchanges since summer,
Hmm.
are KuCoin, Binance, Hotbit. So I think KuCoin and Binance are probably what we'll see very soon. I think we'll
Awesome.
eventually see Coinbase this year. I don't know when, because I think we probably want to see something close around like the integration between Immutable X Marketplace and Coinbase. But I think they're keeping that in their back pocket as like a, they never lead with their best ever. They always have in their back pocket, right? So
Yeah.
you get like a KuCoin, a Binance. I am hoping for Crypto.com, because Crypto.com offers the ability to stake like several coins with their exchange. So a lot of
Hmm.
people are like, I don't care about the benefits. I want APY. If you can do that on Crypto.com, that brings more investors, through the Crypto.com route,
That'd be
even though they just
awesome.
went through a hack. So hopefully that is all ironed out. But yeah, so I think that's kind of what needs to be considered.
Yeah, and all those would be amazing exchanges. Kraken you can also stake on pretty easily, but I think Crypto.com would be bigger because it appeals to a different kind of investor as well. Kraken is more of the same. Apparently, they just announced Peely Fantasy for the Lunar New Year. Being told this by one of our amazing followers here. Oh, all right. Peely
Healy
Fantasy.
Fantasy.
Culture is the best vehicle to connect emotionally, and as long as people like glove puppetry, Peely Group will work hard to make puppet drama and promote glove puppetry to all corners of the world. For more than 30 years, Peely has been creating IPs and producing movies and TV shows and TV series. The Thunderbolt, 1988, the movie The Legend of the Sacred Stone, Thunderbolt Fantasy, Sword Travels in the East, which has taken Japan by storm, and Peely Fantasy, War of the Dragons on Netflix. Nowadays, Peely's work have transcended land, language, and cultural barriers and become unique international entertainment. Huh.
Oh, those look cool.
Yeah, they look really cool.
I'm
Um,
wondering, I'm wondering like because we saw what was happening with, what was it? Not Darkstone, Labyrinth. Was it Labyrinth?
Labyrinth. Yep,
Dark
Labyrinth.
Crystal, Dark Crystal. Sorry, Dark Crystal. So we saw that with for like Jim Henson, like having like puppetry. Now we're seeing this with
Oh, gotcha.
puppetry.
Hmm.
Kind of curious why this was chosen. So definitely need to research this one, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, I've not heard of this one before,
I have
and
not.
and so I don't know anything about it. But yeah, you're right. And I know Darkstone. They had a Netflix had a recent show about it, and then there's actually a game that came out that was like an RTS game that didn't do very well. The Dark Crystal. So
You know what I bet though?
hmm,
I bet because this announcement, I bet Ultraman will probably start going up because it's another side from that.
you're. I think you're absolutely right. Just like we saw with
I'll be right back.
Sue Storm. Yeah, yeah. Pause 1 moment. That's why you're ending it right now. You knew this announcement would happen.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I just saw it and I was like, all right, I need to go buy a bunch of Ultraman.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Well, I mean, that's interesting. I don't know what to think about it yet because I don't know much about it. But if anyone in the comments knows Peely, I don't know how to say it either. Pili, Peely, fantasy. But cool. War of the Dragons. How are you doing on time taps?
I do need to run.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We can end it here. This was freaking phenomenal. So thank you so much for agreeing to appear. Maybe we can do this at some point in the future again. Where can the audience find you?
Yeah, I mean, thanks so much for having me, man.
Hmm.
I'm Taps Trades on YouTube, Taps Trades on Twitter, Taps Trades on TikTok. Just started having fun with collectibles there.
Nice.
Feel free to reach out to me on one of those socials and watch my content and again make sure you subscribe to Sodi Pop as well. And
Thank you.
love being here, man. Great conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll see you soon in the future. Again, stay tuned to Sodi Pop Media. 3Ts and IG, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram at Sodi Pop Media. And we will see you all soon. Definitely in the next drop. All right, guys. Thank you so much.